Hello all, this is the Sivart again, just here with another tutorial. Now this tutorial will be a little bit different than some of my past ones, and that is because this tutorial will be geared towards beginners, people who haven't really worked with code in GameMaker at all, or 3D. So hopefully you should be able to go from just using 2D games with the drag and drop code towards the actual 3D games with GameMaker Pro. Now, it doesn't really matter which version you have of GameMaker. It should work with all of them, except for, of course, GameMaker 5. But I hope none of you have GameMaker 5, because it's really old. Anyway, let's start with creating a simple object here. This is a new game, so hopefully you guys should be able to follow along. I will go pretty slowly here. So here we have an object. I'm just naming it OBJ here. So anyway, in creation event, the first event we have here, we're gonna quickly drag in code. It's in the control event on the tab section here. Just drag in pure code. So in this code box, I'm just gonna type in a simple function. Okay, this is what you need to start 3D. Just pretty much initialize it. Otherwise, things just won't work. You just need to type in d3d underscore start. 2 brackets at the end here. You don't need to stick anything inside of them. It's just there so that it finishes off the function. So that's really all you need to stick in creation event for right now. That'll just initialize 3D into our game. Okay, so now in the draw event, okay, this is where we're going to draw the 3-dimensional camera. The camera is, well, the 3-dimensional camera, so it'll determine where we're coming from and where we're looking towards. So this will determine the way we see pretty much everything in 3D. So we've already initialized 3D in the creation event. Now in the draw event, let's quickly draw our camera. So d3d set. Now I don't actually have to finish typing it in because a little help box has popped up here telling me all the things that I could be typing in from what I already typed in to start out with. So here we go, d3d set projection. This is all we'll use. It's the simplest and pretty much the one I use most of the time. So here, where you can see on the bottom, we have some help just to show us what each function is. Because inside the brackets here, we're going to need to stick some variables. This will determine what it is, or like, anyway, just some settings pretty much. So the first 3 are x from, y from, and z from. This will determine the x, y, and z positions of the camera. So first I'll start with x, and then I'll start with the y, or next will be the y. So instead of just being y, we don't want it to be the y, because the camera needs to be looking at us. So I'm going to go y minus 100. So it'll be 100 pixels away from my actual position, because I want it to be looking at myself, right? So, and then the z. The z is the extra dimension that we add into the 3D. So this will be the up and down on our plane. So I'll make it, say, 50. This will be 50 above the ground. And then the next 3 variables will be x2, y2, and z2. I'll just add a couple spaces here so you can get that there's a difference here. So now we have x, y, and 0. So this is the position of what I'm looking towards, which will be myself, my own little ball object here. So now space, let's add I'll put a little thing there. Anyway, now we have the x up, the y up, and the z up, or z up. It depends on where you're from. Anyway, these you can try playing around with them. Just change them to whatever you want. But my favorite settings is just 0, 0, 1. I personally really like those settings. You can change it to really whatever you want to. Just play around with it, see what it looks like, see what you like. But this is my personal favorite. This setup right here. So we got that the first 3 are where we're looking from. Second 3 are what we're looking towards. And then these last ones are just some settings. I'm not actually quite sure. Anyway, play around with them, see what you like. So now we have a camera, but if I were to create a room right now and stick our new object in that room, then we would notice that we don't actually see anything if we play the game. See, it's a blank screen still, because we haven't actually drawn anything in the three-dimensional world yet. Everything is, I mean, we are seeing a camera, like, this is a camera right now, but it's not, there's nothing in the 3D world for us to draw. We haven't even added a sprite to the object, which we don't actually have to, because things are drawn in the 3D world. Oops. Anyway, now, what we're going to do is we're going to draw something in the 3D world for us to see. So that's going to be, it's going to be an ellipsoid. So first thing we need to do, though, is set the color. Draw, set, color. So what this will do is it'll set the color for everything, because the default is actually black. So that would make my object, well, everything really black. So instead, I'm just gonna draw set color, and then as the setting or function or whatever here, it's gonna be C white. So this will mean that you can like add textures and stuff to your objects, and you'll actually be able to see them. It won't be just black. So now that I've set the color, I can actually draw an object. So D3D, draw. So if I just stop there, then I can see a whole bunch of options once again. So I can just use the arrow keys to scroll through them. I'm going to go to Ellipsoid, which if you don't know in 3D, that would be a circle. So once again, here on the bottom, we see we have some functions. We have the x1, the y1, the z1, and then again the x2, the y2, and the z2. These are the 2 points, like a cuboid. So what we have here is the first x will be like the starting point, or the smallest part, and then the x2 will be the largest part. So everything in between will be filled up. So anyway, let's start with the x1, which would be x minus 5. So this way it'll be on my position, but minus 5 blocks, or pixels. And then we have the y, we're just going to do the same thing, minus 5, and then minus 5. So this will make a sphere perfectly 5 pixels, or a total of 10 pixels big on either side. So space here. You don't have to add the spaces, it's just for looks, really, so that you can better understand what they do. So then we have x plus 5. So as we can see, here's the other side of our circle here, or our cuboid that we're setting here. So then y plus 5, and then just 5. Now, if you want to start playing with the z variable, which is where you can actually go up and down, then you would add a z there. But for right now, it's just going to be 0 is our z. So now, the texted, or the texture. So here's where you can like wrap a texture around your object. For right now, I'm just going to make it -1, which will just leave it with the current color I have set here. I might show you later how you can do the background get texture, and then you can actually draw texture onto your model. But for right now, I'm just going to make it -1, which will just leave it as its color. These next two variables are h repeat and v repeat, so horizontal and vertical. What it is just how many times the texture is repeated on your model here, your circle. So I'm just going to make it 1, 1. So that means it'll just wrap around once. Now this last variable is pretty interesting. It is called steps. You won't have this for all of them. Like you won't have it if you try to draw a box, or yeah, pretty much just a box. I think all the other ones have steps. Anyway, it's how many triangles it'll make. Pretty much its smoothness level. So if I stuck it to 5, it would be pretty boxy. Like you would be able to see a whole bunch of triangles. It'd be very chunky. So if I add it all the way up to 20, then it'll be very smooth. If you zoomed in far enough, you'd still be able to see the individual triangles, and then you might want to crank it up even higher. But for right now, I'll leave it at 20. So right now, if I play it, I should be able to see a circle in the middle of the screen. There we go. A circle. And that is in 3D. Now, as we can see, it doesn't look 3D. It looks very 2D. This is because there is no lighting right now. So if I'm going to add lighting, that'll make everything look a lot more 3D-ish. So I'm going to go into start event here. This is in the creation event. Under D3D start, I'm going to start adding some 3D settings. So D3D set lighting. So here we have if I'm going to enable lighting or not. True or false is what we're going to add. So I'm going to make it true, so that lighting is indeed on. Now I'm going to set enable a certain light, because you can have quite a few actual different lights in your 3D-dimensional room. So let's add a light. Let's see, D3D light, just light defined ambient. So you can actually add ambient lighting, which will make everything slightly lit. I won't add, I won't add that right now. So first I'm just going to enable a certain light. So the first one is the ID. I'm just going to set it to 1 because it's our first light, and then true to enable it. So this means we have a working light in our scene. So now let's go D3D, light, define point. So this will define where our light is. So once again, the ID is 1. This means that it's the same light that we just enabled here. Now, bracket. So here we have the X, Y, and Z. This will just be the position. So I'm actually going to set it to the same position as my camera. That means that the light will be coming from my camera. So I'll just put the exact same position in here that we had for our camera. And then range. So this will determine how far the light projects. But since I want this to pretty much be a sun, an infinite light, I'm just going to stick some 9s here. For no particular reason. And then the color of our light. Now since this is our main light, I'm just going to add it to be C white. Okay, so everything it lights up should be normal white light. Perfect. Now when I play it, it should look a little bit more 3D. There we have it. A three-dimensional circle here. So this looks pretty cool, in my opinion. This looks cool. So we have a sphere, and it is 3D now. So yeah, that's first. But once again, it's not much, right? It still could be a picture, right? So how do we make it look even? How do we show that it really is 3D? Well, I guess let's add a floor, a floor that we can, I don't know, walk around on. Now the thing about the floor, let's see. Well, first let's draw the floor. So D3D draw, and it'll literally just be floor. So I'll just type in floor there. Okay, so it's the same, pretty much the same variables for the last one, except for it doesn't have a steps at the end. So that's kind of important. So in this one, I'll just go 0, 0, 0 for the first variable. Now this will be the second x, y, and z. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually make it room width, room and room height. That way it'll be the exact same size as my room. So room width. This is a variable that you can use that is just returns the width of the room. I could go into the room and see how big it is, which is 640. But instead I can just type in this. That way if I change the room size later, this will also be changed. So room width, that just returns the number. So now also for that y, I'll just type in room height. And then for the z, I'll put 0 because we still want it to be flat on the floor. And then texted once again. I don't think I'll add one right now. Or you know what? Yeah, I will. Background get texture. There we go. So now I would type in the name of a texture. I'm just going to type in text and then I'll put a background in there later. So now we have H repeat and V repeat again. This time I'm going to maybe crank it up to 5 because otherwise you get a pretty pixelated floor. So yeah, that'll work. So now all I have to do, oh yeah, wait, one more thing before we get out of here. I need to turn off lighting because since this is a single floor, so that's 2 triangles, it's going to have weird lighting because of the way the lighting works. It'll only light it up if you're close to a corner. So I'm actually going to turn off lighting just for drawing this. So I'm going to make it false, and then right afterwards I can turn it on again. Oh, whoopsies. There we go. I can turn it on. So this way it's only off for this object, and then it'll be on again. So it's off, it draws the floor, and then it's on again. So there we have it. We should have a floor now. But it still doesn't have a texture, so I'll give it a texture. Load background. Let's see. We just scroll through my pictures. Where did I stick it? Oh boy. There we go, some random textures. I'll use my default grass. I like grass. Okay. So now if I draw it, it should work, and I should be able to see a floor. However, you may notice, there we go, that the floor is halfway up my my circle here. It's cutting it off in the middle. And this is because, well, it's at the same, like my floor, or my little circle here, is 5 pixels below and 5 pixels above 0. Whereas the floor is just at 0. So that's why it cuts it off right in the middle right there. So the way to change that is I could either lower the floor, which I don't really like to do, I like to leave it at 0, or raise the ball, which is what I'm going to do. So the Z here in the ball will go up to 0. And then the next one will go up to 10. This will keep it completely spherical and everything above 0. So now when I draw it, it should be hovering right above the floor, which it is. Perfect. So now, what should we do? Well, I might add some simple movement code. Let's make our little thing move. So I'm going to also do this in code. You don't actually have to. Like, you don't have to do a lot of this in code, but I am going to. Because, I don't know, it's fun to learn how to do the exact same thing in code. So there we go, D3D, or wait, not even D3D. It's if, this is an if statement, keyboard check. So if I'm holding down key, and then this is a value, VK, I don't know, what should we have it? Right? Then, let's see, X plus equals 1. Maybe 5. Okay, so what this will do is if I'm holding down the right key, then X will plus itself by 5, which is my width value. Anyway, so that'll move me right at a speed of 5. Okay, so now all I have to do really is copy this 4 times and change it for the up, the down, and the, anyway, all the other ones. So I'll change this one to left, this one to up, this one to down. There we go. And then the up and down has to be the Y, not the X, because otherwise that'd be just weird. Also, this one needs to be minus, because I want to go -5, and same with this one. So now I may be wrong. I may actually go the wrong way when I push a key, so I'll come back to that most likely. Okay, so when I hit the left key here, yeah, I'm going right. That's the wrong way to go. And when I hit the left key here, or the right key, sorry, I'm going left. That's not right. So now if I hit the up key, okay, the up and down key, they work. But left and right key do not. So, let's just change that to this one being a minus, this one being a plus, and now it'll work. Now I have a fully functioning game. I can already move around. It's probably horrible FPS for you when you're viewing it in the video. It's actually really fast, but because of, well, mainly this recorder. If I was using a different recorder like FRAPS, it would work. But now you can see that the lighting on our sphere here is changing. This is because it's no longer the ball of light is still hovering right where my camera was at the starting position. So if I were to move way over here, then it starts to get shadowy because the light's still over there. So what I can do now is see how I'm setting the light here. I can just copy this and paste it into step event right after the move. So this way it'll reset it to my X and Y coordinates every time I move. So that way it'll keep on my camera. Let's see here. Perfect. The lighting is now not changing. Alrighty, so that is working perfectly. The lighting is not changing for me at all. Perfect. So now, if I were to add another object, say, let's do that. This object will be just a plain old cube. So let's call it object, maybe box. So now, let's add an object box to the room. Object box, object box, object box, object box. There we go. Got some random boxes. So now, these ones are just going to draw for now. You can add collisions later, simply by adding sprites to your objects here. But for me, I'm just gonna stick some code into the draw event. I don't have to stick D3D start into this one. I only had to stick it in OBJ because that is the camera object and that is the first object in the room. That's where you have to stick the D3D start. In this one, I just have to draw. And we've already set the color to white. So, D3D, draw, let's see, which one is it? It is the block. Perfect. So now in here, pretty much the same variables as before, except for not the steps at the end. So, let's see here. X minus 5, Y minus 5, and then this one also I want it to be above 0, so the bottom will be 0. And then space space, here's the second set of coordinates, so X plus 5, Y plus 5, and then 10. Perfect, so this will be the exact same size as my own self. I could make it bigger, and I might do that just to show you that it can be done, but for right now, I'll just leave it that way. Now also for this one, I might as well stick a texture on it. No need for it to just be white. Texture, text, box, and I'll also add this one in later. And then as far as H repeat and V repeat, I'll put the mouth at 1. Okay, so now let's go get ourselves a block texture. Load background. Which one? Which one? Let's add this one. Oh, that's a bit big. I don't like it so big. It makes it, it slows down the game. It's quite unnecessary. So I'm going to change it down to 512, which is half the size for this one. Okay, there we go. And then, of course, text, what did I call it? Box? There we go. So, as of right now, oopsies, it should work. There we go. Yeah, I don't know if you see that right over there. We have a little block. Yay, just sitting there. It's pretty small, but oh well. There is a block, and then there should be another block over here. There we go. So you'll see that the lighting is changing based on where my camera is. The lighting is always coming from the camera. I can actually walk right through the block right now. That's fun. So once again, probably horrible FPS for you guys. That's just because of the recorder. If you actually do this for yourselves, you'll find that it's not so slow, unless you have a really old computer. Anyway, so now I'm just going to quickly demonstrate what happens if you make it a bit bigger. So if I were to make it twice as tall, just by changing that little variable, the second Z, to 20, it should be twice as tall. Let's see what happened. Perfect. As we can see, we have a block that's twice as tall as before. Perfect. So now I'm going to make it really big. I'm going to make this 20 as well. So then it'll be really big, because then it'll be a total of 40 by 40 on the bottom. I'm not actually going to change the top right now. That way it'll be double as wide as it is tall. See, look at that. That's a pretty cool looking box right there. So this is how you do basic 3D in GameMaker. Using all these functions, you should be able to make a pretty decent 3D game already. Now, if you truly understand everything in here, you should be able to make a lot more cool stuff, like all the other shapes in there, and then you should be able to change around your own camera. Later on, I'll tell you how you can like change around your camera based on your mouse, maybe make first person, if I make any more basics tutorials like this, if you guys actually like this basic tutorial. So hopefully this should show you what all the functions do, and you should be able to truly understand everything here. I hope it does. So anyway, thanks for watching this tutorial, and goodbye.